Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I've got my ISO-8 farming guide. And I know you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what? There's like literally no science to farming ISO. What do you really need to know, right? Just click a button. It's actually, there are some tricks to it, and that's what we're going to go over. Is sort of how to think about farming up ISO for your character so that you can be more efficient doing it. I've helped some people, given some tips, and it seems like it's made a difference for some people. So I think this might be helpful to you as well. So first of all, very basic starting point that you probably already have figured out. But the ISO is not, it's all locked into specific class roles, right? So you have blasters, you'll have supports and so forth. So if we look at supports, for example, this is a class that I would not be farming much at all. If you look at this class, how many of these characters are truly important for you? And let's say Doom Raid, right? Beast is important for sure. Anti-Venom is important. Yeah. Are the rest of these characters necessary? I mean, in tech, Doc Ock is a good option. Shuri's a good option. Night Nurse is important in skill. There's only a few characters, right, that we see here. Now you go to on the other extreme, Controller. All right? And that is insane, right? Because there's so many good controllers. You have everything from Doctor Doom, Zemo, Scream, Ghost, right? So you've got a bunch of characters there that you want in other game modes, right? That are important in Controller. For example, right now there's a lot of blasters. Blasters suddenly become, more important in Brawler. So if you go to, for example, Brawler, now we've got not only Symbiote Spider-Man, but people who want to bring their Gamora up or their Shatterstar up, or because they want to get Adam Warlock, right? So you really need to what you need to do when you're farming is I used to go when I was doing my farming for ISO. When I first started, when it was first released, what I would do every day is I would go here and I would just click through the nodes. Auto, click here, auto, click here, auto. That's not how you want to do it. What you want to do is go to each of the classes, pick a character that you haven't maxed out in ISO. Okay, so let's say I'm in Brawler, right? I pick out the Thing, right? I haven't maxed him out. And you want to go here, first of all, and click and see for each one of these what you're missing. So one thing you're going to notice is I only have 29 of this particular piece, but I have 91 of this. Why is that? Because this piece is on nodes for classes that I've needed elsewhere. Like probably I was farming a lot of Controller for a while, and I was skipping out on support because there weren't supports. Now, by the way, today, or this patch, they introduced Moondragon as a support. They introduced Adam Warlock as a support. But until they came out, there hadn't been a good support for a long time. I just had all this ISO sitting there. So I would skip support, and I would overfarm Controller. And look, one of those Controller nodes also has Brawler. So what you do is you don't just farm all the Brawler. You farm the pieces you're the lowest on. So you can see here, this is your Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, etc. So you go here, okay, I have 29 here, 29 here, 39, 36. So what I do is I farm the ones that I'm low on and I skip the one I'm high on. The goal is to even these out over time. Okay? You want to even it out so you can get a set. Don't just equip random pieces because you don't get the most value there. So I typically go from 1 to 3 and 3 to 5 because there's where you unlock stuff. Other people I know care a lot about 2 or 4. One thing you have to keep in mind. So we're looking here in the tier 1s. I'm focusing on green ISO here because that's what you're going to be farming. This tier 2 sounds amazing, gain 10% max health, but this is based on their base health, not based on all of the increases after red stars and everything else. So it's not as much as you might think. It's still helpful, but this is where you get the additional functionality on the ISO bonus and so forth at 3 and 5. That's what I was really focused on, going from 1 to 3 to 3 to 5. But to me, equipping within a tier, like where you haven't even gotten from 1 to 2, I could see a reason for certain characters why 2 or 4 might be important. But I didn't do that, but I could see it. But particularly for a character you use, let's say Kestrel in every game mode or Doom or something. But nonetheless, you should never be just equipping a random piece to get a little bit of a bonus. You want to even them out and get entire tiers up, okay? Now, one thing I should also mention to you is that you want to keep track of, it may be worth it to refresh a node to even things out versus just, I've already done my nodes, farming farming a node you haven't farmed before. So by far the most economical way to farm ISO is by refreshing this energy here. So I do the 50 and 100s every day ever since they were released. Some people only do the 50s, but a lot of people are out of cores, okay? And understandably, they purposely don't give you enough cores in this game, and they're basically trying to stretch you thin to squeeze you. That's basically the entire game. It's like, quote, resource management game. But whatever core, if you're good, my point is this, whatever resources you're putting towards ISO, this is better than the offers or any of that stuff. Instead of buying the offers, just get cores and buy them in as big of a pack as you can because the price goes down the bigger the pack you get. And then use those on this energy. And then what I would recommend is it's certain circumstances, if you need to bring a key character up for like Atom Warlock, right, or Doom, just refresh the node to get the ISO. So, for this character, for example, if I'm like, I need to get, Gamora up, let's just say, and I want to get, I wouldn't farm this one I have 91 on, even though that node might be free. I would go to the one that I'm the lowest on. I would click around and I'd be like, 29. And I would farm that node. Now, you're going to know. And so let's just say, this one was out. I would refresh the node for 50 cores anyways. You can figure out what's right for you. But that's the sort of thing I do to try to get ahead of the game. If you're trying to rush a character up for ISO, that makes sense. Here's another thing people don't realize. Between the 12 and the 24. So this one gives you more pieces per energy. This one gives you more ions. So here, if you're short on the ions, this currency, right? You farm this one. If you're short on the pieces, you farm this one. And here's my observation. Early on, when you're like getting from 1 to 3, on all your characters or whatever you're trying to accomplish, like you're doing a lot of characters from level 0 to 3, you end up running out of these ions. When you go from 3 to 5, I find myself running out of the pieces. And so what you need to do is keep track of what piece, which are you short of, and then farm whichever one. So you farm the 24s if you're short on ions. You farm the 12s if you're short on pieces. And then whether you decide to, let's say, do both of these, it really is dependent on, whether it's worth you to refresh, right? And how much you really need ions versus pieces. There's also a quirk in the game, which I've reported to the devs, but they don't care about, which is that ISO Health has 2 24 cost nodes for support ISO Health. So here, I'll show you right now. If you go to, and I'm going to laugh if they've actually corrected this. So if you go to support ISO Health, which thankfully you hopefully will not need to farm up. So you go to support and you go to we go to their health. You're going to find instead it's got two. It has support support health. This one has 2 24 cost nodes and no 12 cost nodes. And then ISO support focus has 2 12s and no 24s. So, that's an oddity as well. The other thing I just wanted to make sure everyone is aware here is there's a store. People ask me questions about it. So we're going to go to it right now. This store here. This is almost never a good deal. The only time it's a good deal is when you're really high on ions and you're short on pieces. But this can, and I would only use it, it says you own, only use it when you're really short. You need to manage the classes and manage the pieces. All right. And, I've already done videos on which characters to take up. And that essentially tells you who to focus on for Doom Raid, particularly if you're just trying to squeak by with 3 or 4 characters or just have one team of 5 to go through all 3 nodes. But the way you get there faster is by making sure you're focusing the right pieces so you can get entire tiers up at a time, as opposed to wasting your farming effort getting like 225 here that you don't need. And these imbalances, by the way, will become very sizable over time. If you go to, a class, let's say here, if I go to, I'll try to find a class where I have more of an imbalance. Okay. But let's say if I go to, controller, let's see on this one, controller is probably a bad example because I think I've used all of them so much. But if you go to, let's say we'll go to Blaster and let's see where I'm at here. I usually find ones here. So here you go, 254 Blaster health, 71, 59, 42. So really getting my bang for my buck is totally farming this node over and over again, and you just ignore this. You ignore the 91 too, right? That's essentially how you need to manage your ISO farming. Is this fun? I don't know. But it is the way of getting them up, and like at least the green is farmable. So take advantage of that. I mean, the blue is a total mess, and we've talked about how to handle blue because it's only from Doom Raid, which you can't get without ISO 5. But at least for the green, you have control over it. So you refresh this energy as much as you can spare. I get everyone's short on cores, and then target farm the pieces that you really need. All right, guys. If you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you have comments, leave them in the Discord below. I have the link there. I have a lot of great discussions of how to manage your resources. And then also we have our YouTube comments. I'm happy. I'll always read what you say there too. And also check out our Twitch stream. That's linked below as well.